Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today I have Tribe Talk writer and social media manager for the Tennis Tribe, Hanlon Walsh. Hanlon, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Awesome to have you back. So we are going to talk today about pro doubles. So for everybody listening, what we're going to do is a kind of first half of the year review, what's happened on both the ATP and WTA doubles tours so far. Then we're going to preview what's to come in the second half of the year. What questions do we have? What will be kind of some storylines to keep an eye on? And then we're going to briefly talk about Wimbledon as well. Right now, we only have the entry list. By the time this is released, the draw should be out, but we don't have the draw yet. So, and I will throw a little bit of strategy in there as well for those of you who are more into the strategy episodes. So let's start with the first half of the year review. We'll start with the ATP, so the men's doubles tour. And what I wanted to do is kind of go back and forth, Hanlon, here. We can each give kind of 3 points or 3 takeaways from the first half of the year. So why don't you start with the ATP?
I think the first thing that comes to mind with the ATP is a lot of the singles players really taking over and shaking things up on the men's doubles tour. It started off with Kyrgios and Kokkinakis, really coming out of nowhere to win the Australian Open. And that kind of carried over to, the US hard court swing with Isner, who really hasn't, I don't think, been like a dangerous doubles player unless he's playing with Jack Sock or someone who's far better than he is up until this year. But Isner winning the Sunshine Double and then making a final. He made another final. I'm forgetting the third tournament, right?
Yeah, he won the Sunshine Double and then made the final at the Italian Open. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. With Schwartzman, right?
With Schwartzman, with a third partner.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and I think I read when that happened, he's the first player to ever make 3 Masters 1000 finals with 3 different partners in 1 year.
Yeah,
just insane.
Really. So it was Sock at Indian Wells, right? And then Hurkacz at Miami, and then Schwartzman.
Right. Yeah, and it was so, that was one of my points as well. So it was so interesting because like how the story changed, right? Sock, he wins with Sock, and you're like, oh yeah, well he's playing with Sock. Sock's like one of the best doubles players in the world. And then he immediately does it with Hurkacz, and it's like, whoa, like Isner's good at doubles. And then to do it with Schwartzman was, I mean, almost comical. Like they were taking pictures next to each other. He's 15 inches taller than Schwartzman, like almost a foot and a half taller.
It was great for doubles, especially him and Schwartzman. That was fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. And I was just looking at the rankings. So let me pull this up. This just blew my mind. So you look at the doubles rankings, and all these doubles guys play a lot of tournaments. They're not like, it's not like a Djokovic or Nadal where you can play just select Masters 1000s and Grand Slams and get away with it because the prize money's just not enough, and they have to, look for to make money where they can. So you've got Joe Salisbury at number 1. He's played 24 tournaments. I think this is in the last year. Rajiv Ram's number 2. He's played 22 tournaments. Zeballos is 3, played 21 tournaments. Pavic is 4. He played 27 tournaments. So they're all like in the mid to upper 20s. And you keep scrolling down, and John Isner is number 19 in the world, and he's played 10 tournaments. It's incredible.
Just scratching the surface. But yeah, I think he has at least when I checked a few months ago after this Sunshine Double or whenever he made his final with Schwartzman after that, he had his singles and doubles ranking were around the same, and his doubles record in the year was like far better than his singles record was. And it may still be the same. I haven't checked the rankings lately, but I know that he's had a good doubles year.
Yeah, and I'd be interested. I need to reach out to him and maybe try to get him on the podcast. I'd be interested to hear what his theory is on that. I have this hunch that so we watched him play in Dallas, right? And he and Isner won the Dallas Open, which was a 250. And I have a theory that he just learned so much playing with Jack Sock
Or
because I
they actually
watched
won,
them.
or they actually lost in the semis, didn't they? Because Aravala and Roger won.
Did they? Oh, you're right. My bad.
They
But they so
we
they
did see them though. Yeah.
yeah, we saw them and they played together. My bad. So they played together there, then they go play together at Indian Wells a few weeks later and win. And I was like studying them on the court, and I can see Sock telling him like after points, like after they lose a point, hey, here's what we do differently next time. And I feel like Isner learned a ton playing with him, just strategically on like how to play doubles the right way. And I think that kind of rolled over to Miami, and then you saw what he did at the Italian Open. But anyways, yeah, it's been wild to watch him. And then, like you said, a lot of other singles guys do well also.
Yeah, Hurkacz just had a great doubles year too. He and I think Pavic just won last weekend, I'm pretty sure. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously has he and Isner's success. So yeah, it hasn't just been isolated to Isner, but Hurkacz and then Kyrgios, Kokonakis, and I'm sure other players in between. So it's been fun to see the singles guys more in the doubles mix this year and shaking things up. I think whenever you get a big name like Isner or Hurkacz or whoever, it always just brings more attention to doubles. So good
Yeah.
problem to have.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And we'll get to more of that a little bit later on the women's side as well. Um, so point number two, who have been the two hottest teams on tour this year? They are leading the race, I believe.
Cool
Yeah,
off
so
and yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, the obvious answer I think is Skupski and Kulhoff. I believe they have 5 titles together and a 40-10 record, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And then the lesser known pick, or maybe more so after Roland Garros, but I feel like they were sleepers, leading up to Roland Garros, and now more people are paying
Mhm.
attention to him. But Roger and Aravala, they've won 3 titles and I
Mhm.
think have like a 28-10 record on the year. They won in Dallas and Delray Beach, and then have made I think a few finals as well or in semis. So they've been pretty consistent. But it was really really exciting to see them win at Roland Garros, and especially with Aravala being from El Salvador. You saw afterwards on social media how I think there's a picture with him. I think with the president or prime minister. I'm not sure exactly who it was, but a lot of just public
Yeah.
figures from El Salvador and just all over social media. So it was really cool to see him win, just being from such a small country.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun. Fun. I've probably watched him play more doubles in the last year than any other pro player between Indian Wells, World Team Tennis, all of that stuff. It was great to see. Yeah, and Kulhoff and Skupski, it's interesting because Kulhoff and Roger played together at least a little bit last year. I'm not sure if it was the full year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And they did okay, and then they split up and just have massive success so far this year. They're both so Kulhoff, Skupski are number one in the race with 4,250 points, and then Aravala and Roger are number two with 3,745. And they're both pretty far ahead of number three, which is Granollers and Ceballos. So it'll be interesting to see how that momentum goes into the second half of the year, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, Kulhoff and Skupski, it looks like they won 2 titles down under in Australia, then Doha, then Madrid, and then another one here recently. So
And they've got the pink shorts too. Or we saw them
yeah,
in
they
Indian
do.
Wells. That was fun. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
drawing
they do
attention for those
the
shorts too.
whole matching thing. So yeah, so those have been definitely the 2 hottest teams. And then another topic here on the ATP side has been just some of the consistency overall at the top. So we look at Rajiv Ram and Joe Salisbury, who's the number 1 ranked doubles player in the world now. I just mentioned Granollers and Ceballos. They've been together for a little while now, and they're both still in the top 5. So yeah, it's been interesting to see the singles guys kind of mix in here, but then also you have your kind of staples who typically make a deep run at the tournament.
Yeah, Mektic and Pavic have had they've certainly been picking up some steam over the past few weeks too. So it'll be interesting to see with them getting more confidence and momentum how how they'll fit into the mix with some of these other teams that have been really hot already in 2022.
Yeah. Our friend Van Sias, who's been featured on I know some of your uh, Tennis Tribe talk blog posts
Oh
earlier
yeah.
this year. We got into a little um, Twitter discussion about them breaking up or
Oh
not,
yeah. He
and
called that, didn't he? Or they haven't
he
yet, obviously, but
they haven't. He said he thought maybe they should, and I was like, yeah, let's give it a little longer. But Van's a great person to follow on Twitter if you're into pro doubles for sure. So we'll link to him in the show notes. But shout out to Van.
oh yeah.
But yeah,
Fellow doubles advocate.
absolutely. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can keep the momentum up because they have looked a lot better the last probably 1 to 2 months, maybe 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So that's been good to see.
Well,
So anything else? Go ahead.
or yeah, one strategy question too, going back to Roger and Aravala, because I know we saw them in Dallas and some in Indian Wells, and then obviously we're watching them a lot on TV at Roland Garros. And I noticed, and I don't pick up on strategy as much as you do. I'm more about the storylines and just the general fan excitement and more bigger picture double stuff. But I did notice that Aravala really doesn't like to seem to go to the net very much. He's got a big forehand, stays on the baseline.
Yeah.
Roger obviously has incredible hands, but is that rare to see someone of that caliber, in the men's doubles game, shy away from the net?
Yeah. Yeah. So usually when you're seeing it, you'll see it'll be guys who are like more singles players, right? So like Isner will stay back a lot of times. Kyrgios will stay back because their ground strokes are just so good, right?
Yeah.
But Arvalo, he does serve and stay back a lot, and I do, he just won Roland Garros, so it's hard to argue against the strategy. But I do remember sitting there watching him play in Indian Wells, and they lost the match, and I remember thinking that he needed to serve and volley against that particular team. I think they were returning really with a lot of depth back to Arvalo. So he was getting on his heels immediately on his serve, and he got broken, I think, once or twice in there. So I feel like anytime a player is returning really deep in the court, there's a few things you can do. One of them is serve and volley, because if you can get to the service line and catch that ball a little higher and get forward, you're going to take away their time, and you're going to be able to have a little bit higher volley versus hitting a ground stroke kind of on your heels from behind the baseline. So yeah, it was surprising to me. I know they had been a hot team and they won several 250 tournaments, but to win a Grand Slam is a different thing. I was super happy for him. I was rooting for him, but I was a little bit surprised. I didn't expect
I think they did have some
go that far.
I think they did have some draw gifts. I don't remember who exactly they play, but I think it did open up quite a bit on the bottom half from what I remember.
Yeah.
Not to discredit them, but they did.
Yeah, no, that's certainly true. And even in the finals, I think they won fewer total points than Krajicek and Dodig, who I think had triple match point at one point and couldn't get it done. So that was a wild match. But let's move on to some WTA. So let's go over a couple storylines for the WTA so far this year.
I think the most obvious one is really just a huge shakeup at the top. At the end of last year, Krejcikova and Siniakova, and really the beginning of this year, because they won the Australian, they were just, by far the dominant team and were winning all the big titles. And then second to them, I would say, was Shea and Mertens. And Shea has been, off the tour this year. We've heard rumors that, she may be pregnant. I'm not really sure. I haven't heard if that's confirmed, but whatever the case may be, she's been off tour. That's been a big shakeup. So I think we've seen a lot of the teams that were really dominating towards the end, really most of last year. They haven't been in action this year. So that's one, I think the biggest thing, and we've seen a lot of partner shakeups, and Garachi and Desiree Crouchick split up, and
Mhm.
Nicole Mellicar and Demi Shores, I think she was playing with at the end of last year. They
Yeah.
split. So a lot of new partnerships too.
Yeah. Yeah. There have been. Yeah. I think Siniakova has been this story for me that I've just continued to keep an eye on. I was disappointed that they had to pull out of the French Open. She has 3 titles this year, with 3 different partners, including the Australian Open with Krejcikova, like you mentioned. She also won Down Under, um, with Bernarda Pera, I believe, and then she won in Berlin last week with Storm Sanders, another lefty, and good doubles player.
Yeah, I
And
would equate her to Jack Sock, maybe, of the WTA, if there was one.
yeah, I mean, she is, every time I watch her, she is, it just blows me away how good her instincts are at the net. I think she is by far the #1 doubles player in the world right now.
Mhm.
And yeah, for fans who want to learn strategy and how to move at the net, watching her is a great way to try to imitate your own game, because she runs a lot of I formation, a lot of faking. Yeah, she's so fun to watch. So that's been a big storyline for sure.
Yeah, I remember watching her practice in Indian Wells, and she's fun to watch, but I would be scared to be across the net from her. She was just crushing the ball,
Yeah, she terrifies me.
and she also just has the that face. I don't know. She's got the the warrior kind of glare. When she's
Yeah.
game time.
Yeah, she got upset. Were you sitting with me at Indian Wells when she got upset at the lady behind us? Or was this
Oh, that's what it
after?
was. Yes. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
courtside. Yeah, we were terrified of her.
Yeah, yeah. She was
Exactly what
like,
it was.
so she was sitting right at the, or we were sitting right on the baseline. It was one of those outside courts where you can sit like almost on the court. And some lady behind us, she kept screaming in the middle of the point when she thought the point was over. And like a net player would just smash a ball, but and then she'd scream, and then the opponents could get to it. And Siniakova ran one down after the lady screamed, and then she looked over at her, and yeah, she scared me.
Yeah, that was pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
I think
um
two other. I was just looking at the rankings again, and two other big teams that have since, I think, broken up officially from last year that were doing really well were Aoyama and Shibahara, and also
mhm.
Stozer and Zhang Shuai. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think, really, if you looked at the top 8 or 10 at the end of last year, most of those teams have either been sidelined this year or are playing with a multitude of different partners right now. So it's really a completely different
Right.
landscape at the top.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit different than what we have over on the men's side. But one consistent team has been Gabby Dabrowski and Juju Olmos, who have helped us a lot with our Watch More Doubles campaign. For everyone listening, go buy a t-shirt. um, but yeah, they've been really consistent. They're #2 in the race. They won in Madrid, made the finals in Rome recently, and have had really a solid year. And I would say, I mean, looking at the race, like they've been the only consistent team that's paired up and been in really every pretty much every major tournament
Yeah.
so far this year.
I think they had a little bit of a slow start to the year and then really caught some steam at Indian Wells. And then from there, they've been, I feel like they've been seated in the top 3 or 4 of just about any event that they've played in, and have, consistently been making it to the latter stages of these big events. So I really feel like that they're poised to win their first slam together, whether at Wimbledon or, the US Open or whenever. But if they, hopefully they keep playing together. But I think they have a good chemistry, and they complement each other well too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then looking at the race overall, so we've got Mertens and Kudermetova at the top, who are a really good team. They've both historically been really good doubles players. Kudermetova played with Rybakina last year a lot, and then Mertens played with Shea, like you mentioned. And they're interesting because they're both singles players, and they do have to kind of focus on singles a little bit more. So you don't see them in every draw, but they will play most of the Masters 1000s and Grand Slams, it seems like. And just by virtue of their singles and tennis ability overall, along with their kind of doubles mindset. They have made a good pairing, which is, to be honest, it's been a little surprising to me because typically what I like to see is a good baseliner and a really good net player. And I feel like both of them are more of the baseline type, but they're both solid enough at the net. And yeah, they've had a really good year. And then number 3 is where it gets like, I would have never guessed this. You've got Pegula and Coco Gauff. They made the finals of the French.
They've probably only played what, 4 or 5 events together, maybe.
Right. And they made the finals of the French Open, which gets you a lot of points. But Coco's also played with Katie McNally a lot this year. So it's, yeah, it just gets kind of messy after that.
Yeah. You see like this, both of the slam winners are on here. Krejcikova and Siniakova are number 5 in the race. Garcia and Ladinovich, that was a big story, coming out of the French Open, seeing them reunite and go back to their winning ways. So it is interesting. I think besides Gabby and Juju looking at this race, not many of the other partners, maybe with the exception of Kitchenok and Ostapenko, have been really playing together, week in, week out at a lot of the bigger events.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I mentioned Coco. So she's up to number 5 in the world in doubles now. And I know, how old is she? Like 19 now?
Yeah, 18 or 19.
18 or 19. And I really hope for doubles sake that she keeps playing. It seems like she's going to, and it seems like she's, having a great time doing both. But as she keeps making more of these, Grand Slam finals and singles, I'm interested to see if she does it. And I hope she does. Having her play with Pegula or Katie McNally, is a great kind of all-American team that US tennis fans can root for and doubles fans can root for. And she's a great doubles player too. So it would be disappointing if she did start to focus on singles more, at least selfishly.
But I mean, every match they play is always, standing room only. And we've said this in some of our roundtables in the past, but I think, since the Bryan brothers have retired, if anyone, if you could anoint anyone as the next Bryan brothers, the next face of doubles, I really think it could be Coco Gauff and Katie McNally if they, keep playing together, and they, they've kind of branded themselves as Makoko. So you already have tennis fans knowing like, oh, Makoko's on court 3 and referring to them as a team and a unit. I think that goes a long way with really growing, more fans and support around, having household doubles teams, on tour.
Yeah, definitely. So another story from this past week, and you wrote an article about it, and this is gonna lead into our half 2 preview. So the second half of 2022. We'll stick with WTA and then we'll circle back to some ATP for the second half of the year. But yesterday there was a big match, and Serena Williams won a doubles match 13-11 in a third set 10-point tiebreaker. And you wrote an article that we'll link to in the show notes about Serena's doubles career, 10 things you may not know. A lot of them I definitely did not know. I mean, she is an unbelievable doubles player.
Yeah. She, I mean, obviously we don't hear as much about her doubles career just because her singles career has been, the best yet, or, most people would say the best of all time in the GOAT conversations. But I mean, she and Venus are by a long shot the best.
Sorry, my dogs are barking.
Is that Frank?
That's my dog barking.
I think.
Sorry, keep going. I'll mute for a second.
I think they agree. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers, Venus and Serena by far have been the best doubles team of the 2000s, really the last 2 decades. 14-0 in slam finals. She's 23-2 in career doubles finals. This I thought was really impressive. Well, most people know that she's won 3 Olympic gold medals too with Venus. But she went between 2008 and 2012, which was really their most dominant stretch of playing doubles together when they were playing pretty actively they went 72-7. So that's a 91% winning percentage. And during that time, they won 7 majors, 2 Olympic gold medals, and they both became doubles #1 in 2010. And then in 2016, they won their most recent doubles title again at Wimbledon. So I think, the numbers speak for themselves, but not only, have they just beaten most everyone that they've played multiple times, but they've taken down so many good top doubles teams and top doubles players of multiple eras. And, you had to, being a doubles player playing, against Venus and Serena, I'm sure it had to be frustrating when you're ranked in the top 5 and you're seated high at a major, and then they come in and bust up a draw. And that was kind of their trademark. They would just not play for several months or years and come out of nowhere and, win Wimbledon, win the US Open.
Yeah. It's amazing. That record from 2008 to 2012 is ridiculous. I don't know for sure. I didn't follow it very closely back then. I should probably know this, but I'm not sure if they played 10-point tiebreakers at the smaller tournaments for third sets. If they did, then that would be even more impressive that they did that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think they did, but I could be wrong.
They may not have. But
I mean,
regardless,
really, they didn't play it most of the events they played were slams or the Olympics. They played some Madrids and Romes and some bigger premier 1000,
maybe Indian Wells,
but not
So she played yesterday with Ons Jabeur, and they won 13-11. It was looking rough. They were down a set and a break, and they came back and won. And it has had tennis Twitter just going crazy for the Serena comeback. And I'm so happy it was a doubles comeback. It's been great to see. And this ties into the preview because I'm interested to see if she'll play a little more doubles this fall or into the later half of her career. We've talked about it before, can Federer extend his career on the doubles tour? If, obviously these players don't need the money, but it would be so good for doubles. And I feel like they would just have a ton of fun doing it, if they want to. So that'll be interesting to see over the next half of the year. A couple other questions I have on the WTA side. Who is Coco going to play with? It's obvious that when she's in a doubles draw, she's a big threat. So will she keep playing with Pegula, who she had success with at the French Open, or McNally, who she also made a Grand Slam final with in the last year at the US Open last year? So that'll be,
I think it'll be a mix.
Yeah.
Because McNally has been, focusing a lot on her singles career. And, as a result, she's been playing qualies or smaller events and prioritizing singles over doubles. So knowing that Coco and Jessie Pegula are both, I think Coco's 12 right now and Jessie Pegula is 8 or 9. They're very close in the singles rankings, and so they'll be in all the same big tournaments. So I would imagine she'll keep playing with a mix of the two of them, but it'll be interesting, the bigger events, who she'll play with. But I did see, at least right as of now, on the Wimbledon entry list, none of them are signed up for doubles, which I thought was surprising.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll change. Interesting. Okay, so another thing we'll have to keep an eye on. We talked about Krejcikova, if she can be, I guess, healthy enough to play doubles. I know she's backed out of the French Open and then a few other tournaments. She had to retire in, I think it was Doha earlier this year, or maybe it was Dubai. I always get those mixed up.
Yeah, I think French Open was COVID though, right? Didn't she?
Oh yeah, that was, you're right. So we'll see how that goes the rest of the year. But if she does come back, I just can't imagine them not being back on top. But we'll see. Who knows? And then it'll be interesting to see if Shea comes back as well at some point, maybe in the later half of the year.
Bethany Maddox Sands is another name who's been really out of the tour this year. And, it was fun running into her at Indian Wells. She was super nice to talk with, but I think she and Desiree were supposed to play together at the beginning of the year. And, Bethany's just been off tour. So she's another one that I'm curious whenever, when she makes a comeback, because, she is someone who's unlike or similar to, Coco or Jack Sock or some of the other players we've talked about, has had so much success with a lot of different doubles players throughout her career. And she played with Iga a bunch last year. They did really well together. So, that would be really cool to see Iga play some more doubles if Bethany makes a comeback, or to see,
Yeah.
where Bethany might fit in the doubles landscape right now.
Yeah. Yeah. We really, I mean, I really just want to see all these top players come back and play more doubles. But it'll be interesting to see how it folds out on the WTA side, because like we talked about at the top, the mix of partners has been kind of wild and
Yeah.
less consistent. You might see a team in the WTA finals in the top 8 at the end of the year that maybe only played 3 or 4 events together. Maybe not that few, but less than 10. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And then on the ATP side, what are you looking at for the second half of the year on the men's side?
I think a lot of people will be watching to see if Koolhof and Skupski can, put it together at Wimbledon. Obviously, Neil Skupski is from the UK, so that would be extra special for him if he was able to win with Koolhof, win Wimbledon on his home turf. And then I think, same with Joe Salisbury too. If he and Rajiv are able to, get another slam under their belt. They've been super consistent this year, but I feel like they've come up short in some of the bigger moments and had, a couple of heartbreaking losses. So I'm curious to see if they, two of those teams can grab some big titles. But then, will we see John Isner in more doubles draws? I saw Kyrgios and Kokkinakis are on the Wimbledon entry list. So, I think especially on grass, they could do some serious damage. So those are a couple things that I'll, be keeping out for.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see if Isner is able to compete in some more tournaments, because he actually, he's up to number 19 in the doubles, and I don't think he played either Grand Slam tournament on the doubles for all this year.
That's pretty impressive.
So it's wild. And then, I'd love to see Jack Sock come back and play some doubles as well. And then a team we haven't even talked about that just made the French Open final is Austin Krajicek and Ivan Dodig. Krajicek's been kind of bouncing around the last couple of years, had some good results. I think he and Neil Skupski, I think, won Cincinnati last year, or maybe made the final. Or maybe they won in Canada and then made the finals of Cincinnati, something like that. They had a good run last US kind of hard court season. And then this year you see Krajicek, with several different partners. I think he was out hurt for a little bit, and now he makes the finals with Dodig. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue to pair up. And then what happens at the top, between all these consistent doubles pairings that we've seen throughout the year.
Yeah, it looks like Dodig and Krajicek are seated 9th on the Wimbledon entry list.
Okay, there you go.
I think I would, suspect them to do well at Wimbledon, but I agree it'll be, Dodig has had such an accomplished doubles career of his own and mixed doubles. So I think him, they could certainly be a dangerous pairing the second half of the year.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking of it, actually, Krajicek I think he made the finals in Cincinnati with Steve Johnson, actually.
Okay.
And then the following week won a tournament with Skupski, maybe. I'd have to go back and look that up, but regardless. So a lot of stories coming on the ATP side, but just a little bit more certainty, I guess, around who's going to be there at the end of the year. We're going to have Granollers and Zeballos. We're going to have Raymond Salisbury, Herbert and Mahou. If they play several more tournaments, I'd imagine are going to be somewhere in the race. Kokkinakis and Kyrgios are number 6 right now, and I could totally see them winning Wimbledon. I mean, the way they play. So they could even be in the doubles ATP finals with the result there alone already being number 6. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the Wimbledon entry list, and then we will hop off here. Let's start with the women's draw or entry list, excuse me. What were some of your takeaways from the women's entry list?
Well, I think, what we haven't mentioned yet with Wimbledon is no Russian or Belarusian players. So that automatically takes Kudermetova out of the equation. So you'll see on the entry list, Zhang Shuai and Elise Mertens are playing together, and they're the top seed. Krejcikova and Siniakova are back in action, so they're the number 2 seed. So I'm curious to see, how both of those teams fare up, anchoring both ends of the draw. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but one noticeable absence, or I guess a few noticeable absences, a lot of the top American doubles players are not in the draw. I don't think I saw Coco, Katie McNally, or Jessie Pegula. Caroline Dolehide, I think she's on the entry list. We do have Asia Muhammad playing with Ina Shibahara. They've been a lot of fun to watch. We saw them quite a bit at Indian Wells, and they made the finals there, I believe. Nicole Melikar playing with Ellen Perez. But yeah, I was surprised to not see McNally, Gauff, or Pegula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wonder if some of that has to do. Well, I guess they're probably not that worried about doubles points, are they? So
yeah, I was wondering if the rankings had anything to do with it, or maybe even their singles decision, or I don't know if I think they're both playing singles, but
yeah. Huh. Yeah, that is interesting. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I mean, other than those top 3 teams, yeah, there's a handful, maybe like 5 or so teams that I would say like they're definitely gonna win at least a couple rounds and make a run. Other than that, I wouldn't be shocked if any of these seeds lost in the first round if they got a rough draw.
Yeah.
It's really kind of wide. It seems wide open as far as looking at the entry list goes.
Yeah, I would a couple of unseeded teams. I'm looking on the second page here, and one that really jumped out to me was Desiree Crouchick and Danielle Collins. They partnered together in the Australian Open and made the round of 16, if I remember correctly. So I could see them, doing really well, shaking up the draw a little bit. Storm Sanders is playing with Belinda Bencic. That's an interesting pairing. And then Demi Shores is playing with Ariane Hartano, who I'm less familiar with, but I was surprised to see that Desiree and Demi were not paired together. So I'm interested if that's a temporary thing or if that's, an official breakup. You never really know sometimes in the doubles world what's going on, but I was kind of surprised to see that.
Yeah, that is a little bit surprising. Okay, and then it looks like we've got Yifan Xu and Xiaoshuan Yang. I'm probably not pronouncing those right, but they won in Indian Wells, and they're going to be paired up together too. So that's another solid line there.
That's right, and I think they were higher up in the race too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it looks like they are number 4 right now after winning Indian Wells earlier this year. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the draw looks like and see what happens with that. On the men's side, I look at the top of this and I'm like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The top 9 seeds, like nothing shocks me.
Or 10, really, Murray and Suarez too, I would say.
Oh, we must be looking at different lists. 10 is Kyrgios and Kokkinakis for me. Like that's not like totally shocking, but it's just like, oh, Kyrgios is going to play doubles in this one because he doesn't play doubles in all of them. But even beyond that, you've got Mice and Kravitz, Mahou is playing with Roger Vasseline. So not with Herbert. Yeah, just like it's just so much more consistency on the men's side. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with can Salisbury make a deep run and try to win on his home turf? Can Skupski do that? Can Mektic and Pavic continue their hot run as of late as they transition to the grass courts? And how will Aravala and Roger's game do on the grass as well? So,
yeah, it looks like Jack Sock, if I'm looking at the correct entry list, is paired up with Dennis Kudla. So Jack Sock, I think no matter who he's playing with, is always going to be one to watch. Steve Johnson and Sam Querrey, they, especially on grass, I think, could make a deep run depending on their draw. So same with Feliciano Lopez and Maxime Cressy. Lopez has always loved the grass as well. So those are some unseeded teams that are catching my eye, just kind of glancing through the entry list right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one that really has been, I don't know, kind of under the radar. Not a lot of people know these players. And I think we watched them in Dallas. I know we watched Lloyd Glasspool, but he's been playing with Hari Heliovara, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, they had a big win last week, didn't they?
Yeah, they've had some good results the last few months. And I remember watching Glasspool in Dallas and just thinking, he's a really, really solid doubles player. I think right there with all the top names that we've talked about. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them win a big tournament at some point later this year.
Yeah, they could definitely be sleepers here. And Lloyd Glasspool is from the UK, I believe. So
he is.
More the reason for him to make a big splash at Wimbledon.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got Jamie Murray playing with Bruno Suarez at the 9 seed. One of our, or at least one of my personal favorite teams to watch. I love watching Jamie and Bruno play. Jamie has such an unorthodox style, and then Bruno's just so smooth out there on the court.
And off the court too. It was fun.
Yeah, and off
running
the court.
into him on the grounds at Indian Wells.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so anything else for Wimbledon? We don't have a mixed entry list yet, so we can't go over that. But anything else you want to cover before we hop off here?
Well, speaking of mixed, I think one thing I've seen on tennis Twitter is that Coco Gauff and Jack Sock are potentially teaming up in mixed doubles at Wimbledon. So that would be super fun to watch. I think they would definitely be one of the favorites. And going back to Serena, I'm very curious if we'll see how as we record this, they have won their first 2 matches and have their semifinal match either tomorrow or Friday. So I'm curious to see how they fare the rest of the week. And then what does the second half of 2022 look like for Serena? Will she and Venus play together? Could they come back and have a celebratory run of the U.S. Open? Will she keep playing with Ons Jabeur? Is this a short-term thing? I'd love to see where doubles fits into Serena's the rest of Serena's career, no matter how long it may be.
Yeah, that will be a big storyline for sure. If she does choose to play some more doubles. And for everybody listening, Coco Gauff and Jack Sock would be must-watch TV. So do the 7-day free trial of the Tennis Channel Plus app if you have to, or whatever. You can always email me if you're having trouble finding a match, and I will figure it out for you. But I think that's it from my end. So thanks, Hanlon, for hopping on, and thanks everyone for listening. You can check out the show notes with links to everything we talked about at thetennistribe.com/podcast. You can get a Watch More Doubles t-shirt at shop.thetennistribe.com. And all of those proceeds go towards supporting pro doubles. So thanks again, and I will talk to you all in the next episode. If you want to become a smarter doubles player and start winning more matches, then join the Tennis Tribe Doubles Strategy newsletter. Every single Thursday, I'll send you a new doubles tip or tactic that you can use in your very next match. And when you join, you're going to get a free guide on how to play with more confidence and start dominating at the net in doubles. My name's Will. I'm the founder of the Tennis Tribe, and over the last 5 years, I've worked with players at every level of the game, from USTA 3.0 players all the way to Division I college programs, as well as some of the top 10 doubles players in the world. And on Thursdays, with this strategy newsletter, I share that knowledge and advice that I've gained over the years with you. So to sign up, you can go to thetennistribe.com. And again, you'll get that free net play guide when you join.